we're not only to experience ourselves in one environment, like sitting on a couch or in our community of always with people, but the reality of having space and time out in God's creation allows you to also, I think, understand your position, that you're small, and but also you're gifted, right? You've been given this beautiful place called the earth that we get to enjoy.
Well, hello, backcountry.church. I am so glad you're here. We're here in Georgia doing a conversation with Duane Moyer. And we'll get to Duane in just a second here. But if you haven't downloaded our app, make sure you go to Google Play or the Apple App Store and do that. And Duane, it's so good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I mean, it's
been a long time.
It's been more than a day. And we have a lot to talk about. You've been kind of busy.
Kind of busy, yeah.
In this crazy year. But first, okay, so you're married, you've got three kids.
Three kids, yeah.
And two boys and a girl.
Yep.
And they're twins.
Twins are 29 and the daughter is 26.
29. Wow.
I can't believe I'm that old.
I love it. Now, where are we in Georgia, and why are you here? Why did you move here?
Yeah, we're in North Georgia, in the north of Atlanta, and we're actually at the base of the Appalachian Mountains. And we're actually only about, not even an hour from the base of the start of the Appalachian Trail, which starts at Springer Mountain, Georgia. And there's also at the base of Springer Mountain, there's a state park called Amicalola Falls, which is the highest falls east of the Mississippi.
What?
Yeah, and from a creek point of view. And it's really nice. And so you can hike it from Amicalola Falls all over Springer Mountain and start on the trail.
No way. Wait, how far is that? How far are the falls to Springer Mountain?
I think it's about 10 miles.
10 miles. Wow.
Maybe I'm off, but not far.
If I do that, can you pick me up to Springer Mountain?
No, because that's actually, it's in the remote wilderness. So.
You need a Jeep.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Well, Duane and I have actually known each other for
almost 40 years.
40 years. Not necessarily connected, obviously, during that entire time.
Correct.
But, and then, so you, I think you grew up in the Bay Area?
Yeah, I grew up in Cupertino.
In Cupertino, that's where, what high school did you go to?
Monmouth.
Oh, that was like our rival, because I went to Cupertino High School.
Yeah, and of course my wife went to Homestead, so we were all rivals.
Oh my goodness, that's a long time ago. So, funny thing about Cupertino High School is I went back there just to visit. Yeah, I would never survive there today. I think their average GPA is 4.4 or something like that. You know, I barely survived with the...
I know, I failed algebra too. I took it over my senior year. It was that bad.
I love it. Now, you love physical activity.
I do.
So some of the things that I know you used to do, I don't know if you do, is play soccer.
Yep, I do. I played soccer since I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And unfortunately, this last year I had to stop.
Okay.
Because of an injury to, well, I should say degradation of my body. My left foot arch collapsed.
Oh,
and,
wow.
So had to have reconstructed surgery, and they basically said that they put screws and stuff in there, and there's no way that I could do the pivoting and the jumping and stuff to play.
Right.
So soccer's over for life.
Oh,
Really
seriously?
sad. Yeah, it's over.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Talk about that. Like, you know, for the person struggling with a chronic, you know, knee or plantar fasciitis or, and even a mental stress, you know, somebody's like depressed and so they have a hard time getting out. On the physical side, what have you learned from this? And then you had your foot worked on as well,
Right.
with surgery. So you've had two major surgeries this year, and which has put a pause briefly on your outdoor activity.
Yeah.
What would you encourage somebody to do to keep up their health? And even going through this tough time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that the first thing is to listen to your body, and you can't change the fact that we're aging, you
Yeah.
know. And
Who's aging?
I don't know about the rest of you, but I am. And I think you just have to pay attention. Also, it turns out that a few years ago, prior to this heart murmur situation, because a friend of mine who was 47 years old dropped dead in his kitchen of a heart attack. And he was 47. He had good shape, went to the gym regularly, and an outdoor guy kind of thing. And turns out that he basically had coronary heart disease, which is basically the buildup of plaque in your coronary arteries, which are the arteries that feed the blood to your heart muscles.
Right.
Well, then when those get blocked and the heart doesn't get any blood, it dies. And so I went to have a test score called a calcium score, to see if I also had coronary heart disease, because my grandmother and my father had both had triple bypass for coronary heart disease. So I had the family history.
Right.
So I say, besides listening to your body, listen to your family history.
Oh, yes. So genetics plays into
Genetics, absolutely. Right. So, so I did go and do this test. Turns out I had a score of 953. Well, anything over 400, I need to go immediately to the cardiologist. So I'm like, oh, come on. And this is okay. Remembering at this time, I'm working out probably 5 to 7 times a week. So I'm like playing soccer twice, doing a 30-mile ride. I'm going to the gym twice a week. So I'm really active. Okay. So I get that news. And I'm like, oh, freaking out. I'm going to die on the field. Right. Croak right there. So I got under the care of a cardiologist, and he started to take care of me and stuff. And turns out that it ultimately wasn't that bad, but we didn't know because I didn't go in and actually do the camera.
Yeah.
Well, the heart murmur situation, the test they had to do to get all that figured out, actually allowed them to go in with the camera to see. So it turns out that I only have about a 40% blockage in one artery and about 10 in another, which is very good for my age.
Right.
So I don't really have to worry about coronary heart disease going forward. Right. So the heart murmur kind of resolved the challenge.
Right. So listening to your body.
Yes.
And kind of taking steps to address them. Mm-hmm. And the Bible talks about how we are all dying daily, meaning we're getting old. I don't care if you're 20 years old, you're heading to 30. And if you're 30, you're heading to 40 and so on. And so the body's doing that. And then the second thing you said, listen to your body, but also listen to
your family history. Because your genetics play a role. And actually, the flat-footedness, which I had to have reconstruction for, my grandfather had warned me. He says, "Look, take care of your flat feet," because I had flat feet all my life, and he had a lot of pain in his older life, and basically, it's a genetic condition. And then when you run, I was a runner for 40 years, playing soccer all the time. Wow. I accelerated the decay.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's my genetics.
Yeah.
I couldn't change that.
But on the flip side, you're almost 60, and so for where you're at health-wise, you're pretty good.
Oh yeah, no, I feel really great. My heart's in great condition now, and obviously I'm hoping my foot healing happens really well.
Yeah.
So far, it seems to be.
Yeah.
And I'll be back to skiing, and I can't play soccer anymore.
Yeah.
But I can kick it around.
What about running?
No, that's a no.
That's running.
Yeah, that hit. On the foot's not good.
Right.
And but I can do biking, mountain biking, and the road biking will be fine. The key is non-impact and no twisting and jumping.
Right.
That's the stuff that's there.
Wow. So for the person who might be discouraged because of health issues, what would you say to them?
That's actually kind of a big question, because I think that I'd like to kind of take it back a little bit to when I first got the diagnosis with the heart murmur. It was a very sobering experience, emotionally, spiritually, as well as physiologically, because the fact is that I became much more aware of my mortality in terms of that I could die from this. I could die from the surgery. Now, it turns out that the success rate is very, very high for the type of surgery I do.
Yeah, but there's always that 1%,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that you do have to realize that how are you going to process that? As a follower of Christ, I think there was this idea of, okay, God knows the days of how many
Sure.
days I have and when my end is coming, and He has me in my care, and the future is bright. The future is awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? But I think the idea is that some of those hopes, dreams, aspirations, or things that I enjoyed in the present had to be kind of reevaluated. And so I think when it comes to health issues that come up, one, don't get fatalistic, because you can get healing a lot of times.
Yes.
And you may have to work at it. It may not be easy. It may not be comfortable.
Right.
And you may have to accept some limitations like I have. But the reality is that there's always new things to learn. Right. And so I'm going to probably discover new ways of experiencing the outdoors and being active that I didn't do now. Right. And so I think the other part about it is that remembering that your diet also plays a big part.
Huge.
And then I would say the other thing is sleep. You got to sleep and get a good night's rest.
Study just came out today. People over 50 who get 5 hours of sleep on average or less will have major health issues.
Yeah, I can totally get. I mean, and the other issue I think related to sleep and diet is that you have to make sure that your pace of life, things that you're doing, your work especially, don't stress you out. Manage your stress. Acknowledge, hey, look, I'm doing my best I can. I mean, for me, I'm doing very well in my work, and
So how does somebody manage stress? Now, there's good stress and bad stress, right?
Yeah, pressure.
What you're talking about is the bad stress, the stuff that keeps you up at night, the stuff that there's a wall, and you don't know how to get over it, and it's just,
Yeah. I think that the issue of anxiety or stress really comes to the issue of your mindset around what you can control and what you cannot.
And what can we control?
Us. We can only control us. And I think that's the other thing also that with that, I think tied into that is remembering there's a really big difference between what you should be responsible for versus what others should be responsible for. I think there are times where we get fuzzy about caring about people.
Right. You take on somebody else's.
Yeah, we don't. And I think as you get older, you start to realize that, no, it's actually best for them to own it.
Yeah.
Because they'll grow from it.
So there's a proverb, one of my favorite proverbs. I'll get the reference, I forget it offhand, but it says, he who meddles in somebody else's affair is like grabbing a dog by its ears. And I think of a German Shepherd or a Doberman Pinscher or something like that, where you grab, you're going to get bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Because it's none of your business.
That's right.
At backcountry.church, our mission is helping people connect with God, others, and themselves. And really what we've been talking about is connecting with ourselves.
Yeah.
When I was growing up at a church, the church I went to mitigated, they downplayed, they even often scorned taking care of your physical body, because it's all about the spiritual. And, Paul, he threw off the crown, so, and as I look back, I think of all the fat people and the sedentary people and all the people that, now, where I grew up, people didn't smoke a lot, but overeating and
being sedentary is really tough.
yes. And it's like, well, if I'm going to be a Christ follower, I would like a healthy body to follow Christ in.
Well, yeah, and I think the other part about it is that we are called to be a steward of that body.
Yes, of which the Holy Spirit resides.
And I think even more important to me is connecting to the fact that our existence forever will be in a body. The concept of us being without a body is not part of being human. And so I think that you have to acknowledge that your body is part of your existence, and it's part of what God asks you to be and to take care of. And so I think that to do and get disservice to your body is a disservice to God in terms of connecting those dots.
Yeah, and I think the flip side of that is somebody can be so narcissistic that that's all they think about is their body, right?
Well, the people that become obsessed with being in shape, right? They're 60-year-old who's got cannons, and they're ripped, and
What's
it's
wrong
like,
with that?
yeah. Well, the problem, is about how you're spending your time, and then also, what are you getting your affirmation? Like, what is your identity coming from? Is it coming from your appearance? And the idea that they're like, look, when you're 80, you're going to be a mess. Right? I don't care what.
Yeah, because you're 80.
Yeah. And, or 100, whatever you become. But the idea is that you really have to remember your identity comes from God. Your body comes from God. And steward that and enjoy it as best you can along the way.
Right. So I got to share this one thing. A friend of mine shared their cholesterol score.
Right.
That they were surprised that I think it was like 280 or 270 at the time. That's super high. So I was like, I wonder what mine was. I went back. So in my health report, I can go back to 2008, which was,
okay.
So I went back, and I think my highest score was in the 240s. I was overweight at that time. I was sedentary. I was not going outdoors. Fast forward to the pandemic, when I looked in the mirror and I said, screw it, I'm going to lose this weight, and so my cholesterol went down to 195, and right now it's 215. So it's somewhere in there. And almost all of my male relatives, all except one that I know of, have all died of heart attacks.
Right.
So listen to your family, which
history,
is all part of the okay. So that migration to I'm gonna get outdoors, and then I started enjoying it. I'm like, this is amazing.
Well, it goes back to the idea that I think that we are not. We're not only to experience ourselves in one environment, like sitting on a couch or in our community of always with people, but the reality of the space and time out in God's creation allows you to also, I think, understand your position, that you're small, and but also you're gifted, right? You've been given this beautiful place called the earth that we get to enjoy, and there's so many things that are unique that are there. I think it kind of goes back to the idea, when you were talking about the cholesterol, one thing that's interesting related to that is that you can have low cholesterol and still have heart issues, or you can have high cholesterol and no problem.
Yes.
Right? So you have to understand that the heart and the whole circulatory system has a more than one dimension, right, to health.
Right. So how do you connect with others? You're out, maybe not so much when you were running, but certainly in soccer, in your bike riding. I don't know if you do that by yourself or you do it with others.
Yeah, actually, so on the bike riding we do typically as a group ride.
Okay.
We would sometimes have between 30 and 50 people out riding.
Whoa.
And they actually break it into different groups based on speed and stuff. And I really enjoyed that. And then also some of my coworkers that I ride with now regularly. He's kind of new he's from Egypt, actually.
Okay.
He lives here now. And bike riding is kind of new to him. And so we go out together. And then, of course, soccer, I was on teams for years. And I was captain and led the team and just enjoyed playing. And then typically when we play pickup as well, we'd have 30 to 50 guys come out on a Saturday.
So do you have, say after the bike riding is done, or maybe soccer, but you're going to do bike riding, how do you go out to coffee afterwards? You just hang out?
Actually, we typically go out for beer, but
okay.
But sometimes coffee, but mostly
you sit
beer.
by the car, as you load the bikes and just have some conversation.
Yeah, a lot of these people have become good friends and have them over the house, go out afterwards, see each other off of different things. Like for soccer, we go together and we watch World Cup together.
Nice.
Or we watch Premier League or something. So, so in fact, we were just talking about our plans for November with the World Cup coming up. And so I think the connection comes from those activities along with, enjoying it together.
Yeah.
Just finding that we can have this common connection beyond just, being friends. We can also just enjoy the activity.
Right. What's the worst accident you've ever had?
Oh, well,
Snow skiing or?
Well, no, I mean, playing soccer about 7 years ago. So I've broken my nose now 7 times. And
playing soccer?
5 of them at playing soccer. And, actually 4. 3 were, 2 of them basketball, 1 was a refrigerator door. And, so literally I went up to head a ball. I said clearly, because I knew it was, be crowded. And I said, I got it. And some dumb I won't say, basically headbutts me with his forehead into my nose and just smashes it across my face.
What?
And so I had that reconstructed. And actually, when they were doing the testing to kind of prepare for surgery, they discovered I had over here in my carotid lymph node that I had a tumor. And
When they were reconstructing your nose?
yeah, well, it was prior to the actual surgery, but so they actually ended up going in and removing a tumor on my carotid lymph node here at the same surgery. So yeah,
You got a twofer.
I got a twofer, yeah. Yeah, but playing skiing is one of my favorites because skiing has so much more. There's a lot of socialization there.
Right.
You get to ski together, which is enjoy the mountain.
It's very the reason I like skiing is it's very artistic as you're going down.
Yeah, some people would say I'm not very artistic, I'm autistic, but I think going down, I think sometimes challenge each other, new terrain.
Yeah.
So one of the guys got it in his head that he wanted to test his speed. So he gets an app on his phone to see how fast we're going. So we get up to 53 miles an hour going down. And I'm like, okay, that is enough. That is enough at our age. And
Wow.
so yeah. And then of course, after the day, going out to dinner, hanging out, we usually actually rent a condo together.
Oh, okay.
And we share a condo for a week. And so all kinds of socialization activities.
Because that human connection, there's the work that we do to earn income and so on, but really it's that connecting with people outside of that, just sharing life together.
Yeah.
And bring it back to what God has to say in the scriptures is that we are to be connected daily and encouraging each other and challenging and knowing what's going on and so on.
Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, I think one of the things that actually I had taken a hiatus from soccer for a couple of decades, probably in my 30s and 40s, we're raising kids,
Right.
And but in my early 40s, I was working in a ministry. I had been immersed in church for a long time. And I was feeling like I didn't have any non-Christian friends. I had no ability to connect with non-Christians because I was so insulated in Christian environments. So I remembered my love for soccer, and I basically went into a public, basically a county soccer league, and started to make connections. And I found all this great opportunity to connect with guys that weren't believers per se, but loved soccer, but then quite some that did. And so I have this nice blend of some believers, some non-believers playing soccer, all through sport and activity. And I think that's part of the idea that you can find all kinds of ways of connecting. And then also even from an outreach perspective, finding ways to have a platform through that common activity that you like to do, connect about how God fits into your life.
I love it. I think I'm going to stop here. We're going to go outside. I'm going to use the selfie stick, and we're going to finish this because it's getting very
Okay.
Hey, so you were telling me about this bike ride that you have been going on. What's it called?
Well, it's called the MS 150, and it's a fundraiser for Multiple Sclerosis Society.
Oh, okay.
And basically, they have 2 days, total of 150 miles that you ride, about 75 one day, 85 the next. And my friend Roger down in Houston got me into it. And I think it's one of the things I like about it. It's a new challenge, right? It's like I would have never thought to go 150 miles on my bike.
Right.
And actually, 2 years ago when I tried to do it for the first time, we were all ready to go. We got up that morning at 4 a.m, and then the storm came in and washed out everything. It would have been really dangerous, so we didn't do it.
Oh, okay. But you've done this before.
I actually never got to it because I was training for it, and then I got my health issues.
All right.
Now in the future.
So next year.
Well, next year or the year following.
Okay.
But my goal is to get into, or being aware that there are new opportunities that you can explore. In fact, I learned this really cool, there's this ride across the entire state of Iowa called Ragbri, and it's 400 miles over the course of a week. And you ride between 40 and 60 miles a day.
Right.
And they have all these stops and all that and you're going through the cornfields and stuff. And there's also some places you can do in Italy. There's just things you can do. There's so many opportunities for exploration that I'm really looking forward to.
Well, speaking of which, I haven't told you about this, but we have a feature on A Conversation With, and it's called Where to Next.
Where to next?
So, anywhere in the world or in the U.S., like, where would you like to go to next? Whether to watch a soccer, World Cup soccer, or to go bike riding somewhere, or go hiking or whatever, what country, where would you like to go next?
Tuscany, Italy. So I want to go and I want to do a combination of food bike ride, a food trip, bike ride trip.
That sounds
and so
good.
basically you ride and eat across your way across Tuscany.
What?
Yeah. That would be one of I've been wanting to do that. I have a goal to go to Egypt and Kenya. I have a coworker here I mentioned to you.
Yeah.
Who's from Egypt. I want to go visit him and his family there together.
Nice.
And then I have another friend or a young man who I mentor. He's from Kenya. And so I want to go with him and visit Kenya as well.
Wow.
So I've got a lot of to-dos yet.
All right, so Tuscany, I love that. By the way, I have a good friend in Egypt. They own a sporting business.
Oh, okay.
Where I think he's having something like 100,000 campers this year.
Okay.
And
I wouldn't have thought camping in Egypt, but
I know. And so, anyways, we'll do a conversation with him at some point. Maggot Fauzi, you need to invite me. Get me out there. Anyways, anything else you'd like to say? We talked about it a lot.
We did. I'd say probably maybe the summary of all these things is that both with an adventure spirit comes the willingness and the need for courage. Because I think that if you're going to go into adventures, you've got to face the unknown. You also got to face obstacles and challenges, and you've got to be willing to persevere. And also lean into God and others as part of that. Because I think that doing things alone are not really the wise way to go. Is you can gain so much strength and encouragement from others in the process. So I think some of these adventures that you want to look at, you just have to remember that you can't go into it, what's that word, unprepared for obstacles and challenges.
Right.
And but also enjoy those as part of the journey, right? Don't think that the journey is always the pinnacle or the real fun stuff. Sometimes it's the harder stuff to get you there.
Right. And in the fear that, it's easy to stay in the comfort zone.
Yeah, I actually am glad you brought that up too, because I think that's one of the things that you can see in some of my peers is that they're more inclined to be fear-based, right? They're more conservative, not from a political point of view. I mean, just more about the idea of that they're less willing to take risk. In fact, I get crap all the time about being such a maverick, always pushing it, like, why are you always doing this, Moyer? And I'm like, because I want to. It's fun. And,
Could you imagine not doing it?
No, not really, because it's not whom I am. And I understand I'm a certain type of personality.
Sure.
But
everybody has this in them.
Yes, to a degree.
And don't you think over time as adults, we've learned to obey the fear and just enjoy you got a nice life, you got this.
Yeah, we settle. We settle for current status quo instead of what could be.
But God, being made in the image of God has so much more in us he wants to bring out of us.
Yeah, and I think it's the idea that you're willing to take the risk to try and explore, and you don't even know how it turns out. Right? But if you don't, you're gonna get the status quo, which is pretty boring.
Which is not healthy.
No, not healthy either.
It is not healthy. Well, it has been a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah.
Hey, backcountry.church, one of the best ways to connect is, again, on our app, get into one of the groups. We actually connect daily. Right now, it's pretty informal, and, we'll do devotionals. Make sure you check out our series that are going on. Again, on our app, we're on Facebook, and so many other places on social media and our website. You are amazing. I love it.
Good to be with you.
We'll be praying for your full recovery, and I expect a report and some posted pictures on what's happening. Are you healthy and all that? So, all right, backcountry.church. God bless.